Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Edge Evolution CTS3 tuner fitting 2011 to 2020 5-liter F-150s. If you're looking for a way to make the most out of your Coyote-powered F-150, the Edge Evolution is a great way to do it. Packing more power and lots of customizability into a sleek package is the name of the game here, and this is a really complete package that will get you the updates you're looking for without having to compromise. Now jumping right in, we installed this on our 2018 F-150 that you see behind me. This truck does of course run the Coyote V8, and we put it on the dyno to see what kind of results we'd get. Now we did our dyno runs in our truck in 4th gear, so we got a clean run all the way up to redline without hitting the truck or the dyno speed limiters. Also worth noting that this truck does have 93 octane in the tank. So with all that said, our stock run came out with 355 horsepower at 5,700 RPM and 350 pound-feet of torque at 4,600 RPM. After getting the Evolution installed and booted up, we uploaded the Extreme tune and we ran the truck again. This time we saw 359 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and 365 pound-feet of torque at 4,500 RPM, giving us peak gains of 4 horsepower and 15 pound-feet of torque. And while that may not sound like much, take a look at the curve gains. We saw more power and torque pretty much everywhere in the rev band, with our biggest gains showing up at 3,900 RPM, where we saw 42 horsepower and 58 pound-feet of torque over stock, which I think is really solid, especially considering how tightly the Coyote is wound from the factory. Ford doesn't leave a lot on the table with their factory tune, but this really upped the ante in the mid-range especially, which is something you can definitely feel and appreciate out on the road. Now the Evolution CTS3 gives you the option of multiple different performance levels to really fine-tune how your truck responds. Now these preloaded tunes vary and each one has a different focus. You've got economy, towing, throttle response, and outright performance. Now this setup will also save your stock calibration, meaning that you can easily return your truck to stock at any time should you need to do so. This also allows you to adjust your transmission tuning for firmer, more positive shifts, as well as a bunch of other parameters such as spark timing, fueling, and more. You can really dive into the options here to make your truck behave exactly the way you want it to, and this is equally user-friendly for the novice or more advanced tuner. It's one of the things that I really like the most about it. Now we loaded up the tune as it was without making any adjustments, and like we were talking about a moment ago, you can tell that there is a difference. And this is a great combination kit that gives you a lot of information and flexibility right at your fingertips. In addition to the full complement of information it provides in the gauges and data logging section, it shows you a bunch of different things that you don't normally see in your instrument cluster, like intake air temperature, exhaust gas temperature, etc. You can alter all kinds of different parameters by diving into the menus. You're able to adjust for larger tire sizes, different gear ratios, and different tire pressure monitor system settings as well. This monitor is also adjustable, so you can get multiple different gauge layouts and color options to suit your taste. It just adds to the customizability. And on top of all that, this also allows you to do performance tests like 0 to 60 in a quarter mile, and you can read and clear diagnostic trouble codes, which is very helpful should you end up with a check engine light at some point. It also functions as a data logging device, so in that gauge section, it can save key information that you can look at later and monitor your truck and see how things are doing. Updates are also easy thanks to built-in Wi-Fi, but you can also update it using the included USB cable in the kit. So once again, this is a very easy, very worry-free setup. It's always tough to talk about construction when it comes to tuners like this because it's not a part that you're physically installing in, say, your engine bay. But the big highlight here is the Insight CTS3 monitor that we've been looking at. Now this is a large 5-inch full-color capacitive touchscreen that plugs right into the OBD2 port under the dash. So this is simple, it's clean, it's easy to use, and the resolution is great too, so you can easily see necessary information at a glance. And it's a good size as well, so even if you've got to pay extra to see it like I do, it won't be an issue once it's mounted up in the truck. And it comes with the included cables that you need to get everything plugged in and working too. Pricing comes in at about $675, which is a pretty darn good value considering the quality and all of the features that you get here. And let's not forget about the monitoring capabilities and the power increase as well. Think of it this way. You'd pay at least that much, if not more, for a set of auxiliary gauges and a tune if you bought them separately, and this setup gives you all that plus a lot more customizability. Installation is going to get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should take you about 15 minutes to complete. And the CTS3 just plugs into the OBD2 port under the dash using the included cable, and it's ready to go. It's a pretty easy setup, and you're going to spend a lot more time routing the cable and playing with the settings than you would actually getting this installed. So with that, let's hop on over to the truck and I'll show you how to get it done. All right, now it is time to install the Edge CTS3 on our 2018 F-150 here. So before we actually get this plugged in and start tuning the truck, there's a couple things we want to do. First of all, we're going to plug in the included OBD2 cable into the back of the device. We're going to do this first before we mount this on the windshield. This is just basically an HDMI cable. It only goes in one way. It's just easier to do this now before we put it on the truck itself. Once we've got that done, we'll take our windshield mount. If you are going to mount this up on your windshield, just slide that in like so, and we can adjust this once we're in. Now there is an alcohol prep pad in the kit here. I'd recommend using that. We're going to take this right off our truck because we're going to use it for something else afterwards, so we're not going to utilize that. The other thing you want to do before we start this process is, well, two things actually. One is plug this into your computer and make sure you've got all the updates done. Now you can also update this unit via Wi-Fi, but I usually just plug it into our computer, get all the updates downloaded, and make sure that it's all set and ready to go. The other thing too is with your vehicle, you want to make sure that your battery is in good health. Now you can plug it into a battery tender, or if you've got a pretty fresh battery in there, you should be fine to get through this process. That said though, let's jump in the truck and we'll get this plugged in. Next thing we're going to do is mount this on our windshield. Now we're putting this kind of off center here just because we want you guys to be able to see it on the camera. So it's pretty easy. Again, you can use the included alcohol prep pad to prep the windshield itself. Make sure it's clean so you ensure a good stick. Now we're just going to put that right there. Press the tab up, it mounts pretty securely, and we can adjust our screen. Now again, you can move this wherever you want. Normally I'd have this kind of down low on the left-hand side here, but we're gonna have it up here for visibility's sake. Once you're done with that, you can run your cable where you want, and we're gonna go down underneath the dashboard and plug it in. Next, we'll plug the OBD2 connector into the OBD2 port on the truck right here underneath the dash. So now that we've got our monitor in place and plugged in, we're going to take this excess cable and using the included zip ties in the kit, we're going to just zip tie this out of the way. Now you can do this kind of however you want. You can route your cable down. I have it coming down the side here of the dashboard. And unfortunately, you won't be able to see too much of this. But again, just use the zip ties, get it up and out of the way, make sure it's clear of your pedals. All right, we'll clip off our excess for this one here. Get that tightened up. Just using some snips, scissors, whatever you've got. Set that aside. Now there's not a whole lot on our truck to actually zip tie this onto. So I'm actually gonna go on the back of the OBD2 port right here and just gently secure that down. Now again, your truck might vary depending on what gear and options you have, but that's gonna keep that out of the way for us. So now that we've got that done, we'll go back up to the screen and put the tune on our truck. All right, now that we've got everything plugged in and set up, we can dive into the menu on the CTS3. So we're gonna start, of course, with the most important one, the tuning function right up here on the top left. So we'll give this a moment. Now, more than likely, this is gonna give you this warning asking you if you've updated your device. Now, I know that I already have, so I'm just gonna go ahead and skip it because I did that right before we started filming. Now, we see two options here when we get to the performance tuning section. So first is the quick adjust. This is gonna give us some options to adjust a bunch of different parameters within the vehicle, things like, in the quick adjust menu, you're gonna get some options to adjust different parameters within the vehicle. Now I'm gonna skip the tutorial here, but it's basically gonna be tires and gears. So if you've upsized your tires, something other than stock, our truck is running stock tires, so we're gonna leave that on here. And if you're running anything other than the stock gear. Now again, our truck is otherwise completely stock, so we're not gonna change this, but it gives you the option to input different gear ratios without having to do any tunes on the vehicle. Now you can also reset these back to stock as well, but again, since ours are already in the stock settings and we haven't changed anything else, we're gonna go back and go to the first option here, which is tune vehicle. Now there's a bunch of different things that you can do with this. Now there's a bunch of different things that you can do, including towing, performance extreme, You can modify your stock tune, or you can just skip this entirely. Now, of course, we want to know how much power we can possibly make, so we're going to go for the extreme tune. It's going to ask you to hit continue. Now, you want to make sure that your truck is in the on position, it's in the run position, but the engine is not running. And the first thing it'll do is save all of your original data. So if you do need to return your truck to stock at some point, which we're going to do after this video, you can do that right here through the unit. Now, as this happens, you want to make sure that you don't touch anything. Your dash is likely going to power down. You might see some warning lights pop up. You may hear some relays clicking on and off too. Don't worry about that. It is entirely normal. Just leave everything alone. Let the unit do its thing. All right, now that we've got our stock tune saved, it gives us the option to either install the tune as it is, or you can customize it a little bit. So we're gonna install this tune as it is, but I wanna show you some of the customizable options here. So we'll hit customize. Now that the menu is loaded up, you can see we've got a bunch of different options to choose from here. So first is switches. This is your auto start stop. So if you want to disable this permanently, you can just hit off and leave it. Again, we're going to leave everything as it is, so I'm just not going to mess with any of this stuff. Next is our tires. Just like before, you can change the tire size here. Your rear end ratio, if you change the gears. Here you can change your speed limiter, your rev limiter in drive or in neutral. Again, we're leaving everything as it is. Into the transmission options, you can change the upshifts from first to second all the way up, and your upshifts at wide open throttle. So if you want to change these up a little bit, it'll adjust what mile per hour it'll change at. Again, we're leaving all that stock. In your fans, you can have your fans come on at a different temperature if you want them to come on a little bit sooner. If you're running your truck hard, you can do that, or you can up it if you want to do that as well. This is your fueling. I would suggest, unless you really know what you're doing, don't mess with any of this stuff, but it'll just give you the option to adjust fuel delivery at wide open throttle. So you can have it dump a little bit more fuel. Same with the spark. If you want to add some more spark degrees here, if you want to advance the timing a bit or retard the timing a bit, you can do that here as well. Again, we're leaving that alone. I would recommend, unless you know exactly what you're doing, don't mess with that. On an otherwise stock truck, you don't want to mess with that too much. Opening your exhaust valves, this gives you a little bit of options to adjust the cam timing. So since these trucks have variable cams, you can do that here as well. And that brings us to the end of our options. So again, we're not doing anything else, so we're only gonna have the option to skip here. If you've changed any of this, you'll hit install. So we're gonna hit skip. It's gonna say that we haven't made any adjustments, so we're gonna install the tune as is. And this will give us a rundown of all the stuff that we've selected, so any of the adjustable parameters will come up here. We're gonna accept and install. And just like before when it saved the stock tune, you're just going to leave everything alone and let it do its thing. Follow the prompts on your screen. All right, now it is prompting us to turn the ignition off, and we'll hit the screen to continue. Now we're turning our ignition back on into run mode without starting the engine. All right, and with that, we've got our tune on our vehicle. So we're gonna hit continue to go back to the main menu. I wanna show you some of the other stuff that you can do with this unit. So next in line is the performance test. So this gives you the option to do a bunch of different performance tests like 0 to 60, 0 to 100, and 1/4 and 1/8 mile drag races. So as you can see here, once that loads up, all these pop up. Now the nice thing about these is you can either start them manually or you can hit from stop, and as soon as it detects that your truck is moving, it'll start the timer. Now also want to make sure that we all know, don't do this on an open road. Make sure you're on a closed circuit in a safe place to do it. The same thing here with the 1/4 mile test. It'll show up, it'll count down and stage it off. You can set it up. Now, down at the bottom here, you can also see any save tickets. So if you've done this before, you can go back and look at your old times. Going back to the main menu, we have our settings over here. And there's a bunch of different stuff that you can adjust in here, mostly for the device itself. So if you want to change up the display or the colors, you want to turn off the beep. Now this one also again does have Wi-Fi enabled here. So if you want to set that up, it can receive updates over the air. And you can just check for updates. You can change unit of measures, restore defaults, and you can add some other things too. Going back to the main menu, down here we have our EAS settings. So Edge also offers some additional gauges. So if you want to plug anything in, they will just plug right into that cord that we had here onto our OBD2 cable, and you've had some permanent gauges up. Next is diagnostics. So if you happen to get a check engine light, you can scan here for trouble codes. As you can see, we don't have any, thankfully. And you can also clear them right here as well. Going back to the main menu, we also have the gauges and data logging section. Next, we have our gauges and data logging section. So this is super helpful because it will display some additional information that you won't see on your dashboard otherwise. And it can also save that info. So if you're looking to make some adjustments later, or if you just want to see what your engine is doing, you'll have all that information at your fingertips. So here is our main default screen. So you see we got a bunch of different stuff over here, including our battery voltage, our intake air temperature, our engine speed, and our actual wheel speed. Now, if you double tap any of these, you'll be able to change them. It'll load the gauge editor. So you can select something else. Say you want to have barometric pressure. You can change the units on it from imperial to metric. You can also change the color, and you can also change a bunch of other things here. So we'll hit save, and we'll see on the bottom right of the screen, that'll show up as barometric pressure now. Right there. Now you can also swipe through this. Swiping either left or right to some other preset gauge packs. The screen is a little sensitive, it might take a little bit. And you've also got this huge one here that shows you a bunch of different stuff. We're gonna go back to this one right here. Swiping down from the top, you can change the wallpaper, you can change your theme, you can also edit the layouts if you want to do that. It'll basically take us to the setting that we were looking at before, just a little bit more advanced. You can save some preloaded ones, you can reset, or change whatever you want here. We're gonna leave these alone. You can play around with them as you see fit. Again, swiping down, we also have a camera. If you've added an additional camera to your truck, that can show up here. And if you hit record over on the top left here, that'll start recording the information as you drive. And we swipe up from the bottom, we see a little home menu. So if we want to go back to home or to any of the other menus that we were just looking at, you can do that from here. So that brings us back to home, and that pretty much runs us through the features of the Edge CTS3. That's going to wrap it up here for our review, install, and dyno test of the Edge Evolution CTS3 tuner fitting 2011 to 2020 5-liter F-150s. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things F-150, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.